Hello and welcome to the Handicapable Black Woman Podcast, YouTube edition. I'm a woman, I am of color, and I am handicapable. But most importantly, I am human. So, this is episode number 2 for the YouTube, and I'm going to be working on some new material on the other podcast. I might seam them in together at one point, but since I'm on episode 72, I think over there, it's gonna take a little time, and I guess I'm gonna catch up. I might catch up some of the stories on here, but please check out the podcast. I'm on most of the podcast streams. I'll put links, in the box and everything if you're viewing. But anyway, I guess I keep saying I'm going to stop talking about dating, but when it comes to my novels and this part of my life, but especially my novels, I'm writing about women, real women who, it's urban fantasy, so some are going to have superpowers and there's going to be mysteries, crimes, and everything going on, but some are going to be going through the messy, dating, horrific situations I've been going through. Some are going to be happily married. Some are going to be happily married, quote unquote. Some are going to be going through divorces, messy divorces. And so, right now, with some of the parts of the novel that I'm writing, I think that's one reason why I really started talking a lot about my dating life is because while I'm writing my character, writing her best friend's situation and things, I'm pulling out a lot of myself and a lot of my reality. And that's why at either the beginning or the end of the first novel, I might do this with every novel. I'm thinking of writing a letter to the person who did the actual things that I'm going to be saying in the novels. I mentioned in my podcast, I had the date night dinner situation and what happened, and just so many other things where those would be amazing if I tied them into my stories and things. So it would add suspense and just some pettiness, especially. But I know one of the issues a lot of men have that I just redid my dating profile November of last year after I had some absolutely horrible, terrible situations with men. A lot of men lying, deceiving, doing awful things, or they kept telling me they couldn't tell me what they were doing, but thank God for that because I'm not going to be an accessory before or after any fact. But one of the things I had to do, especially after what has happened recently, and then I had to look at my past and that date night when I found out Mr. Lockakey only want because didn't take me out for dinner for months, so many months, almost a year. All of a sudden, he wanted to take me out, and next thing I know, once we get back home, I realized how he tricked me, and then he gaslit me and tried to blame me or put me down. But those situations made me add to my dating profile that the person I'm going to be dating cannot have convictions, cannot have a prison record or anything like that. Because I started dating one guy who, well, he had the nerve to tell me that I'm too good for him and that's why he ghosted me. But then he was dumb enough to forget that our first date was at his house. Yeah. And then another guy who he didn't like my disability. Like first, he kept saying, "Oh, I don't care about your disability. It doesn't matter. It's fine. You're so beautiful. You're so smart. A man would be so crazy. No, I'm so, yeah, no, we're fine." And then after we meet for the second time, then he brags and tells me that he met an able-bodied version of me. So now he won't really need to talk to me anymore. And then he admits to me that he's been to prison twice. So then he ended up just lying to me. Straight up lying to me. But now that I have the no convictions, no prison record, or anything like that, I get called the B word, the C word, stuck up, snob. But how would you feel if you're driving in a vehicle and next thing you know, by the possibility you might get pulled over by a cop, and next thing you know, there's something in the vehicle you did not know was in the vehicle. The cops are not going to believe you. They're not going to care. Huh, I'm black. Come on now. They're not. It's but like, cause yeah, Mr. Lockakey is white, and he even bragged and laughed. He was just like, "Oh, if we would have been pulled over, there's no way you would have gotten out of it because you're black." And yeah, he didn't know that I was planning on leaving his tush either. And so yeah, Mrs. Lockakey, yeah. Mm, if I could write, I might even write a. I'm gonna be extra petty. I might even write a letter to Mrs. Lockakey because after she called me the N word and everything, after he blackmailed me, yeah, yeah. So yeah, like I said, I have tons of good stuff to put in my novels, but men keep blaming me, and men keep acting like, "Oh, well, we change once we get out. We're different." Um, there was one guy who he he just got out and everything, and this is before I made my list. But I was streaming on one of the dating app streams, and he came up on my screen, and he was like, "Oh my gosh, you're beautiful. Oh my gosh, we gotta talk." Blah blah blah. And I didn't know about the record yet, but we were talking for so long, and so we exchanged numbers and we're talking, and then I find out, oh, you have a record. But I mean, I didn't think too much of it because I was still trying to give people a second chance. And as friends, I'll give them a second chance. I mean, we can be friends, but I had to realize there's a difference between friendship and marriage and things like that. And with this gentleman who we talked for hours and everything, like for days and weeks, we were just talking and everything. And he has a son, and but then I find out because oh yeah, he was working on getting his trade. So I'm like, yes, okay. It's like he's trying to get his career going and trying to get his life back together. It's like, yeah, he is on the path of rejuvenating his life. Amazing. But then weeks later, he's on the phone with me. But then he says, "Oh, can I call you right back?" Okay. So then he calls me back, and then he tells me, "Oh, one of my boys needs me to help him real quick. So I don't know if I'll be able to call you back tonight or tomorrow, depends on how this is going to go down. I'm like, what are you talking about? What's going to go down? I can't tell you. I can't say anything. But I let's just say, if I get caught, I'll be going back in. What? Like, why would you're working on your trade, you got out, you're able to see your son now. You haven't been able to see your son for about 8 to 10 years, but now you're gonna risk. It's like it's your time to be a father. It's your time to show your son how to be a man, because we don't have enough of those right now. So it's just it was just alarming, because I'm just like, what? Are you serious? And so throughout the next couple weeks, it's like I'm finding out that a lawyer, or they were trying to pull something up from a other conviction or something like that. And so now you had to go back and forth to the courthouse. And it was just so messy. And it was to the point where I'm just like, huh, um, this feels like a job. This feels like for my mental health, it felt like a job. And the fact that he even told me, oh, once you go in, oh, I was like, yeah, it's like with the lady that we got, they just got to be ready for us to go back in. That's just a part of it. Um, no, I'm not. I'm not gonna no. And I think he was shocked, because I'm like, it's supposed to be until death do you part, not until you get locked up. It's no. And then what if I decide to divorce you? Is like, it's like, are you gonna get mad because you're locked up? It's like, I should, when I get married, I should be able to spend the rest of my life with him, not my life with a piece of glass between us, me on a phone, and then that's the only way you're going to be able to talk to your child. No. And he kind of got upset with me. He ignored me for a couple months, actually, and I needed that, because I needed, oddly enough, it's like I was in the middle of a children's book, but during all of that mental stuff, I couldn't focus. But when he was out of the picture, I was able to put up book 3 of my Dragon Lusty counting book, and so I was just like, you know what? I needed that. I needed that. I also need to go on and publish book 4 too, but it's like I needed that. And then But then I'm gonna show Dating Nightmares episodes on the YouTube edition, and I'm gonna show receipts, because a lot of men who's been locked up they are just disgusted with me because of that. Because I put that I will not date a guy who's been locked up. But they don't realize I've had men already block so many things in my life. That same Mr. Lock and Key, he owed me around $400. But it's been, well, if you listen to the podcast, you'll know what happened and how he lied. And when I found out he was lying with my money, it's like I was so upset, and I was already, it's like, and the thing was, I was planning on breaking up with him. But then when I finished my master's and I got my diploma, or I got my plaque actually, I went to his house to show him, because I thought, you know what? Maybe if not inspire, maybe this will show him. It's like, keep working, keep going for different um, difficult challenges and things. And you know what? He cared more about how white he can get his shoelaces. He never even saw, like, he didn't even look at it when I went to show it to him. And I love and adore his grandfather because, his grandparents were, I mean, they had their moments, but yeah, it was a touch of racism, but the times they were brought up in, I'm like, oh yeah, you guys lived before desegregation, so okay, you're ignorant, but all right. But I remember his grandfather was sitting in the recliner watching, like him and I were watching 48 Hours or something like that, or it was one of the crime based shows because him and I, we really enjoyed watching those together. But he looked right at me after Mr. Lockakey walked out and he said, "You're one of the best things that ever happened to him." No, you are the absolute best thing that ever happened to him. I don't see how he's so blind. It's like he's never met a woman like you, and he will never meet another woman like you. And I just told him that it was a pleasure to meet you, but you may not see me again. And he kind of smiled and he said, "I didn't say he deserved you. I said you're the best thing that happened to you, to him." Yeah. So, but for him to say that, I remember we both smiled. And when I went to shake his hand, it's like he kind of pulled me for, like, he gave me a quick hug. And I said, "I'll miss you." But when when Mr. Lockakey, I almost said his first name, so oops. I probably will one day because, yeah, his, after Mr. Lockakey, well, thought his shoelaces were too white and he was bragging about how they're so white. He bleached them so well. Because, yeah, and that's the thing. First he would say they're too white. Then he said, "Oh, look how white they are. Oh, but I think I, I hope I didn't chemically. Oh, did I do this? Did I put too much?" And yeah, he kept like going back and forth, and it was really odd. But then when I found out something relating to his mental, I was like, oh, this is making sense now. But when I broke up with him, he still owed me that money that he lied to me about. It was supposed to be for gas so he can get a new job because he got caught stealing at yet another job. But then I find out that he wasn't going to job interviews. He was driving to friend's house, consuming of special candy with my money, with the money I lent to him for gas to get to the jobs. But then months later, he was he looked me up online. He looked me up on a few different social medias, and I kept just blocking him because I'm just like, you lied to me. I can't stand you anymore, and you're doing nothing with your life. But it's like for some reason, it's like throughout the entire, like, the only reason we got together is through blackmail. But what did he do? Once like one time he called at my job and my friend well, um I started working with this one guy and he was impressed with my work, so then we worked a lot together and then we became friends. So now we're friends, but we work together from time to time. But Mr. Lockakey was making such a colossal noise that is like, I even remember I put him on speaker because my friend was like, he can't be that bad. So I wanted to show him. And oh my gosh, my friend was like, "Is that a crying cat?" That sounds like a crying cat. Nope, no, that's Mr. Lockacade begging, screaming for me back. Ah, but then when I told him, "You owe me money, I just want my money back." See, criminals know, and this is how, like, I realize this. Criminals know how to put you in a corner. They know how to gaslight you really well. They know how to blame you. They know how to make you feel bad, even though they were the ones that did wrong. A lot of them, I'm not saying all, but a lot of them, the ones that I keep meeting or kept, because I'm trying my best not to have that happen again. But yeah, he had the nerve to tell me, okay, you want your money back. This is how he showed me how criminals get smarter the more times they go to jail and prison. He told me, if you want your money, you have to be my girlfriend. And not only that, you have to sleep with me for a certain amount of times. And if I'm not satisfied, I'll add to that. But you have 2 weeks to decide. If you don't decide, I will double it. I will double the requirements. And then, well, I say the whole story in my podcast. I might say the full story again. It depends. But then the guy that I mentioned earlier, and he forgot that our first date was at his house. It was kind of funny because when I got there, both of his neighbors who I met on our first date, they were just like, "Oh my gosh, how's my princess? Oh my gosh, how are you? You're so wonderful and beautiful. You're such a pleasure to meet. Why'd you break up with him?" I didn't break up with him. He ghosted me. He did not ghost you. No, he's crazy. No, he didn't ghost you. It must be a misunderstanding. Maybe he saved the wrong number. He must have done something, but no, he didn't ghost you. Ah, he ghosted me. And then I found out that he's still doing things he's not supposed to be doing. And he said I was too good for him because with my books and educational resources and the Etsy store that I'm trying to start in. I mean, because I remember like we would talk from around 10:30, 11 o'clock at night until the sun started coming up. And he would, because he owns or part owner of a auto shop. I won't say where, but it's like I love entrepreneurs and I love, like, because I'm trying to own my own business, and like a lot of men don't like that I'm trying to start my own business. It's like usually it's other guys who are starting theirs who understand me. So I'm going to have an episode about that as well. But like him and we were like talking about our businesses and our business plans and how we plan to grow. Since one of my masters is in advertising marketing, I would give him different ideas, and is he still he and that's one thing I'm thankful for, though, the timing, because he didn't realize that right before he ghosted me, I was creating a gift for him. Since my MBA is in internet marketing, I was creating a full platform for him so that he can, it was an Excel sheet, but I had a list of websites where you can get ratings and where you can post your business and information, and like a list of ideas for social media, taking pictures of the cars with customers and quotes. Excuse me. It's like now I feel like I hope I don't get the hiccups. I'm gonna have to pause this. But yeah, there were so many things that I put and organized for him, and even I looked up different YouTubers that maybe he can collaborate with and talk with. And so that was going to be one of my presents for our next date, because I want him to succeed. And he told me about some of the issues and some of the problems, and it's like, with the degrees that I have, I wanted him I wanted to show him that I encourage him. I want to uplift him. And that's kind of what I wish a guy would tell me the same. But when I tell a lot, with a lot of guys, not all men, either a lot of them tell me that my job is to be fertile and beautiful. My job is to cook them dinner. But I thought I finally found a man who understood me, and someone who we could uplift each other. Sorry, but and there was still one night that I still get even though he turned out to be a jerk, I still get butterflies because we were both streamers online. That's how we met. We were both streaming, and I went to his stream one night because I wanted to cheer him on and support him. And he was doing a verse. I'm like, oh, okay, he's versing today. And when he got on, he was talking another to another streamer. And then I find out they're talking about me, and my heart is pounding and sinking like, oh my gosh, should I leave? I don't, but it's gonna show that I'm in here already. So I stay and listen, and he's just telling this guy, this woman is amazing. She writes these books, and she has all these great dreams and goals, and she wants to inspire people with disabilities. She has one herself, but her spirit glows. She's just so wonderful. And it's like, I've never met a woman like her. I know I will never meet another woman like her. And people in the crowd, or they're typing out, she's not real, she doesn't exist, oh, she's phony, oh, she's catfishing you, and just all of this other stuff. And they're still, they're kind of chit chatting and talking still. And he's just like, oh my gosh, yeah, she showed me some pictures of the insides of her books, and I looked them up, and oh no, it's all real. And I'm just so impressed with her, and I just can't wait. It's like, and next thing I know, it's like, he was handsome too. The guy he was versing was a handsome Asian guy. But I remember I'm looking at the screen, and and part of me is like, oh no, he sees that I'm in the room. He's like, dog, what's her username? And he says my username, and he's like, she's in here. And oh my gosh, everyone in the streaming room was like, they're just, what? What? She's in here? Oh my, so she might be real. What? What? No way. And oh my gosh, he looks at the screen and he started blushing. And he just said, well, at least now she knows exactly what I think of her and how wonderful I think she is. And yeah, now he says that I'm too good for him, but that day really helped my self esteem. It kind of helped me realize that, yes, I'm single and I have a hard time finding Mr. Right, but it's like after Mr. Lockakee's grandfather said I'm the best thing that ever happened to him, after this gentleman was just glowing in everything. And then Mr. No Heart, which you will hear so many stories about him. His his mother, his racist mother, said I was the best thing that ever happened to him. I know I will be the best thing for someone, or the best someone for someone. But thank you for listening to the Handicapable Black Woman podcast YouTube edition. I'm a woman, I am of color, and I am handicapable. But most importantly, I am human.